Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you all had a great Christmas and New Year. I know I certainly did. Took a much needed break from the workshop and just chilled out. But now we're in a new year, I want to start a really new project on the channel, one that I've not done before, and that's making a quick change tool post for my Harrison M300. So at the minute it's got the sort of conventional tool post on there that most lathes come with, and to be fair, it's good, it's really rigid, but it's a nightmare swapping tools out and getting that centre height bang on. So over the next few weeks you're going to watch me here on the channel design and make my own quick change tool post for the Harrison M300. And a bit of really exciting news on the channel, we've got a sponsor. So an eBay shop that I've been using for quite some time now, Steel City Gav, we've sort of arranged this partnership where I tell you guys about him, all the stuff that he's offering out there to machinists, and in return he's supplied the metal so I can make my own tool post. So it's got to say, thanks Gav up there, really appreciated, and I'll tell you guys a little bit more detail later on where you can find him and how he's going to be helping the channel out in the future. But for now, let's hop over onto Fusion 360, something you guys might have not seen on the channel before, where we're going to go over how we're going to make this tool post. If we hop onto Fusion 360 then, we can see the quick change tool post and holder that I've been designing. So let's take a quick look around it before we dive in and see how we're going to tackle this task. So looking first at just the quick change tool post itself, I basically want to keep this as simple as possible. So to do that, if we go to the top feature, I've basically designed it to have one single dovetail, and if I want to turn the tool post to use it in different positions, then I can just rotate that instead of moving the tool holder, say, to up to this plane here. So how this is going to lock and work is quite simple. We're going to have a pin in here, which with a cam function on the cylindrical bore that goes down here, it's going to push the pin in and out. And the tool holder itself, well, the tool holder is quite simple. It's fairly generic looking in the sense that it looks a lot like the most tool holders that you get on the market. I've not really pushed the boat out and tried redesigning something, because what's out there at the minute works really well, so I don't really see the point of redesigning it. I might as well just sort of copy it and try making it work for my lathe. So that's Fusion 360, and that's hopefully what our part's going to look like in a few videos to come when we're all done. After designing this quick change tool poster and holder on Fusion 360 then, I was lucky enough to get these parts 3D printed over Christmas. So I want to take a quick brief look at these parts, just because it's going to give us a really good idea on how these things are actually going to go on the lathe, as these are a life-size replica of what the real part's going to be. So first of all, let's look at the body. So this body is 70mm high, 80 by 80mm square. So it's going to take quite a large chunk of metal to make this thing. Luckily, that's where our sponsor comes in. Over at Gav City Steel, he's been kind enough to send me over this massive chunk of metal. So this is an 80mm square bit of stock, 250mm wide. So I'm hoping I'm going to be able to make the body out of this and a few holders extra. So let's look at all the parts that are going to be going into this thing. So like I said, we've got the body itself. We're going to need some way of locking the tool holder. So we've got a little locking pin that goes in here. Now you're going to need a way of pushing this locking pin in and out. So this is where the cam lock feature comes in. Although on camera this might look like just a circle or a cylindrical bore, it's actually not. It's got a slight cam lock feature on it. I think designing it, it was about a 1.5mm offset, which means when that's in the bore, when you turn it, at its lowest point the pin is flush, and then as it protrudes out, it pushes that pin out very slightly by about 1.5mm. So what that will do is when this is all bolted down to my top slide, like a normal quick change tool post, I can grab a holder, slide it down, and then this will have a handle attached to it, which I can just lock out, and then that is solid on there, not going anywhere. So really, how I'm going to want to lay this video out today, I want to get this block of metal chopped down into the piece that I need. So we're going to be chopping this down to a 70mm part, and then we're going to start to lay out the features. So I'm probably going to cut this down, square it up on the mill so we've got a nice square part to work with, and then we'll glue it up and lay out some markings of where we're going to have to machine this. So like I said again, Gav City Steel sent me this over. I'll add a link in the description if you're thinking about getting any bar or round stock. Honestly, I'm not just saying this guys because he's sponsoring the channel. I've been using him for probably about a year actually, since we've been in the workshop, and he's always done me really good deals, gets the stock over to me really quick, bearing in mind I'm on the Isle of Wight, so you know it's got to travel overseas almost. So yeah, just go over there, check him out, and if you need any bar stock, hit him up. Really good prices. So other than that guys, better get chopping, because this thing's going to take ages to get through, and I want a cup of tea. So I'm going to chop this down and go for a cup of tea while that cuts.
One eternity later.
After what can only be described as an eternity, I finally got my cup of tea. Boy, I need to get a better kettle. On another note though, our piece of metal has finally been cut off. So we basically just need to square this up now before I can glue it up and scribe out our machining marks, where we're going to be drilling some holes, machining parts away to cut the dovetails. So the way I'm going to be doing that is the same way I've done it in the past. I've got a really thin parallel on the back here, on the fixed jaw, and on the front jaw we're just going to be using some aluminium welding wire just to butt up there. Going to face off all 6 sides, get this block nice and square, and once we've done that I think we'll be at a good point, like I said, to glue it up and mark out all our cutting, machining marks and drilling holes. So better get on with that, see how this thing is going to machine. So I've squared up my stock on the mill and I've cleaned all the surfaces of this 6-sided block. The next thing I want to do now isn't entirely necessary, but it's just something I like to do. I want to basically check the flatness of the top surface here in relation to the bottom surface. So by no means is this checking that the block is square. What it's actually doing is just checking that the top and the bottom surface are parallel to each other. So I think for a quick change tool post, this isn't going to be massively essential that these are 100% parallel, but getting them quite close will be nice. So let's give that a little go now. So I'm starting off on this corner over here on 0. If you can see my clock here, each little division is 0.01 millimeters and each segment is 0.1 millimeters. So let's pan across and see what sort of deviation we get. So down there it looks like it's dropped off 0.5 or 0.05 should I say. Over to the middle, 0.07. 0.09. Oh Jesus. There's quite a high spot in that corner. That's jumped all the way up to 0.2. So for some reason in this corner down here we've got a real high spot. So that's going to be a potential issue. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick this back on the mill and just try cleaning up that top surface again and see if we can get rid of this 0.2mm deviation, because that's quite high and going to make this tool post rock quite a bit. I've just cleaned the face of the block up on the mill again then, and let's see how this fares this time. So again, we're starting off with 0 over here, and let's see what happens when we pan across. So we've panned across and we've got 0 again this side. If anything, I think my eyes were tricking me then. Let's pan it across to the middle. So we've got about 0.05 there. So that's much better than before. Over to this corner. About the same again there, 0.09. And this was the corner that we had issues with last time. So let's see how this is now. That's a fair bit better. So that's 0.11. So we've gained a fair bit there from remachining that. I'm not entirely happy with it, but I think that will do for what we're going to be using this block for, the quick change tool post. As the lathe is a single point cutting tool, I think 0.1mm deviation there across the whole block. I think that's going to be alright, to be fair. Maybe famous last words, but I think we'll go with that. So the next thing I want to do now is just clean this up on some more wet and dry paper, and then I'll blue it up, and when I come back I'll show you how I'm going to mark out the lines from where we're going to be machining this. So as I'm scribing the lines out with my height gauge, I'm taking close interest in the technical drawing that I've done, trying to get the measurements like for like from the drawing onto the block. That way we're going to replicate the part pretty much identical. And lastly, I've just got to make a centre mark in here, so we've got a point where we're going to be able to put the piston through. So just using a really simple method here, guys, of just going corner to corner will give me a pretty good estimate of where the centre line is. Yeah, pretty happy with that. So we'll just centre punch that, and then we've got our centre mark where we're going to be drilling. Off a little bit more that way. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that now is pretty much all scribed out of where we want to machine. So I think when we come back next week, we're going to be jumping straight into this and starting to machine some parts. Not too sure what I'm going to do yet. Not sure if I'm going to do the dovetails down here first, or if we're going to drill and bore out the centre. But that's going to be it for today. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you're really excited that the channel's got a sponsor and we've got a new project to be getting on with for the start of 2022. Any questions, feel free to drop a comment below. Other than that, guys, have a good week. See you next time.